the imagination of, neither will I again smite any more everything living, as I have done. 22 While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold, and heat, and summer and winter, and day, and night shall not cease. Beloved, you must know that prayer will never replace the sowing, the offerings, and the sacrifice. You can pray as much as you want. Unless you offer sacrifice and offering, you will remain in poverty. I am here to tell you how your life is destroyed and how to repair it. Indeed, fasting and prayer will never replace the sacrifice and offerings. The devil told us not to allow the children of God to offer sacrifices for fear that they will be blessed by God. The devil is working to make Christians poor. In the spiritual world, the devil told us that we should never allow Christians to serve God with their goods because it is impossible to touch a Christian who serves God with his goods. In truth, in the invisible world, offering and the sacrifices speak within the framework of spiritual struggle. When we visited the houses of the Christians who give to God in the night, instead of their houses, we found ourselves in front of lakes and water. Their houses disappear at night, yet they were visible during the day. It is for this reason that the devil militates to prevent people of God from serving the Lord with their goods. Indeed, the offering speaks in favor of the sower. Assembling of the saints. On the other hand, it was necessary to remove in Christian life the tradition of diligently attending the gathering of believers. As David said, "One day in your presence is better than 1,000 elsewhere," Psalm 84:10. It was necessary to remove the joy and satisfaction of being in the gathering of believers in the presence of God. Praise, worship, adoration. In addition to this, the devil had instructed us to prevent Christians from spending time in praise and adoration. He told us, you should never allow them to prioritize praise and worship. Don't allow them to have personal moments of worship and praise for fear that they would be warned and delivered. Indeed, as far as the devil is concerned, there is liberation and deliverance in praise and adoration as God himself goes down. The Bible says in Acts 16:25-26, "And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises to God, and the prisoners heard them." 26 "And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and every one's bands were loosed. And this because of the praise." It was absolutely necessary to destroy the devotion of worship and praise in the daily life of the believer. We worked in order to prevent the child of God from having a personal moment of praise and adoration. It was necessary to turn their attention to other preoccupations relative to earthly things. Prayer life. One day Satan told me it is imperative to fight the prayer life of Christian. The devil said, in the Bible, Daniel was fasting and praying for a month. As soon as God had answered his prayer, I had to block the angel Gabriel for a month in the second heaven. If I was able to oppose the prayer of Daniel, who was so devoted, we will have to fight against the prayer life of Christian. In order to capture a Christian, it will be necessary to neutralize his prayer life first. All this spiritual sleep that the devil sowed in the Christian life, and once Christians begin to find it difficult to go to the church and to serve his God, when he can no longer pray and fast, and as soon as he gave up the way of life of offering and sacrifice, it is in this moment that we were free to enter and destroy him. Chapter 8 Capturing People's Stars. Brother, we must know that every day and night, the demons wander the streets, the avenues of the world. Certain of these demons travel the earth physically, they are well dressed well at night. There are men and women who wander in luxury hotels and bars to sleep with humans and capture their stars. Once I was initiated in occultism. Whenever I meet a person, I would see a spiritual vision to determine whether the individual has the mark of God on his forehead or not. Those who belong to Christ have the mark of Christ on their foreheads. We were in war with the Christians. I used to see the bodyguards placed around Christians deployed by their God. People that are born again Christian have two bodyguards on their side. These angelic bodyguards are often in military uniforms similar to the conventional armies of the earth, but these angelic soldiers are very tall and sturdy. They never leave the children of God and they follow them continually. Brother, the devil targets men and women who have the mark of God and the promise of God. You must understand that the war that the devil perpetrated against your life did not begin in adulthood, but rather from the womb of your mother. Indeed, while we were still in the maternal womb, the devil was trying to kill us and steal our stars, which are the resources and destinies that God gave us. The devil declared war on us while we were in the maternal womb. He wanted to kill us and capture our stars. The battle in the life of a man does not start in adult age, but rather in the maternal womb. In fact, there are 3 stages of war elaborated by Satan in the life of the man. The first battle against your life began in the prenatal period when you were in the maternal womb. The second stage of the war in your life is in the postnatal period and childhood, and the last stage of the war in the life of man on the earth begins in the period of marriage. If Satan cannot destroy you in the maternal womb through miscarriage, he will wait until childhood. So many infants are disturbed by various diseases sent by the devil to interrupt their lives and capture their stars. When you notice that your childhood is characterized by repetitive disease, it is quite possible that you have a bursting and frightening star and a strong aura. If the devil cannot destroy you during childhood in order to steal your aura and destiny, he will wait for the adult and marriage period. He will resort to illegal and illicit sexual intercourse in order to capture your star. Many have compromised and destroyed their destinies because of sexual perversion. Sex is a strategy that Satan uses in order to neutralize the stars and the destinies of men and women. Joseph had a bright star that was brighter than those of his brothers. He was destined for greatness and leadership. This is the reason Satan deployed the women to seduce him so that he can neutralize his destiny and capture his star. As soon as I began to work for the devil, the latter instructed me to locate the stars of men and women to capture them. Every day in the morning, I got up very early. I placed a mystical product on my eyes, my nostrils, and 2 ears in order to be able to detect and locate the newly pregnant ladies in the neighborhood. These products that I had put on my eyes, my ears, and nostrils allowed me to detect early pregnancies. I mean, as soon as a woman in the neighborhood got pregnant long before she knew she was pregnant, I was the first to know because of the mystical product on my nostrils. I could feel and smell early pregnancy. I could detect early pregnancy long before the man and the woman discover that they are expecting a baby. I could detect that a lady is pregnant the very day she had sexual contact with her partner. Since I was a star hunter, I went to the public places, to the streets, the markets in our town in order to locate newly pregnant women. As soon as I found out that a woman is pregnant thanks to the incantatory prayer, I could obtain information about the pregnant woman. And once I have information about the newly pregnant woman at night during a night gathering, I would inform the hierarchy that a specific woman in a specific neighborhood got pregnant. In fact, every day from midnight to 3 a.m., there is a gathering of wizards. On the basis of this fact, I would advise the Christian to pray at this time. Once a report about the newly pregnant woman is filed and submitted to the spiritual authority, the god of this world, the devil was supposed to recommend investigation and calculations so that we can determine how far the baby's star in the womb of the pregnant woman would shine. Every time a woman is pregnant, an investigation and inquiry were launched. On one hand, in order to determine the identity of the baby who will be born. On the other hand, to know the intensity of his star so that we can capture his star in case it is radiant and flamboyant. It is necessary to know that 600 years before the birth of Jesus Christ, the world of Satan launched an investigation and inquiry about his star in the sky. The Bible says in Matthew 2:1-4, Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, 2 saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. 3 When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. 4 And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. The purpose of the investigation and inquiry which we carried out on the baby that will be born was to determine the brightness and intensity of his star. Thanks to the name of the mother and her date of birth, we were performing a calculation to determine how much the star of the child that will be born was going to shine. So this calculation allowed us to determine the intensity of the star of the baby who will be born, whether his aura will be strong or weak. The identity of the baby that was to be born was also revealed by this calculation. Beloved, even before you have entered the womb of your mother, God had already prepared what you become, where you will live, who you will marry, and what kind of source of income you are supposed to have. Once I discover the identity of the baby that will be born in the intensity of its star, I was supposed to report to the devil the conclusion and the result of the investigation and calculations performed by our brotherhood. If the investigation and calculation indicate that your star will shine brighter, the devil would come up with countermeasures to prevent you from becoming what God has planned for you. Basically, there are people who are supposed to be the cornerstone of their families. As soon as we determined the intensity of your star, we were to file a report to the devil. Once the devil discovers that your star is bright, he will trigger war and battle against your life while you are still baby and blood in the womb of your mother. The aim of the countermeasure set up by the devil is to prevent the birth of the child who is in the womb of his mother and the capture of his star. In fact, once the investigation and calculation indicate that the child who will be born will be great in life, the devil would send a servant to bury a fetish around his mother in order to cause a miscarriage. This will interrupt the life of the child because the devil wants to get the shining and brilliant star. The star is the destiny and greatness that God has made available to the man that is born on earth. The devil, being poor, works to stop pregnancy in order to get a hold of the star of the child to be born. Thus, we were burying fetuses in the streets to cause miscarriages and to capture the stars of babies who are still in the bellies of their mothers. Our obligation was to kill the babies and take control of their stars, which is the wealth that God gave them. We must understand that the kingdom of darkness is often the first to know when a woman is pregnant, while the man and woman who had sex have not yet noticed the pregnancy. In this war against early pregnancy, however, we have come to realize that God was protecting babies because they have destinies and missions on earth. In case we fail to stop the birth of the baby, the devil had already drawn the plan for a childhood battle. The second stage of the war in the life of a man is childhood. When the child who has just been born is destined for greatness, you will notice that the infant is threatened with chronic diseases deployed by Satan in order to end his life and capture his star. Many people have a childhood characterized by diseases of all kinds. We have here battles triggered by Satan against the destiny of the child because the child who is born has a bright star and he is supposed to be great in life. This is precisely the reason God protects the children. The Bible says in Matthew 2:7-14, then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. 8 And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. 9 When they had heard the king, they departed, and, see, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. 10 When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. 11 And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down, and worshipped him, and when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh. 12 And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. 13 And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appears to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be you there until I bring you word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. 14 When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt. In case we do not succeed to kill the child at a young age, the devil would order us to wait for the third stage of war, which is adulthood period. Once the child becomes an adult, the devil would instruct his agent to establish sexual relations with the target. In fact, sexual intercourse is the means by which the stars and fate of many are captured. Many people have destroyed their lives by having sex with men and women who were actually a satanic agent. Your star is your destiny. Your star is your wealth, and it is like the light that lights your life. Once your star is captured, there will be darkness in your life. When I was a wizard, once I steal a person's star when the customer came to me for money, marriage, success. I was transferring the wealth and chances that are in that star that I stole to my client to answer their need. Every morning I had to anoint my hands and my eyes to steal people's stars. Once I get anointed, I will start wandering the neighborhood. And as soon as I noticed a man with a brightening star, the moment I noticed the intensity of his star, I would hurry to greet him by holding his hand, and I will engage in a friendly conversation while looking at his eyes to steal his star. We live in a world of exchange. In this war, there are also people who do not know Christ but are protected because God knows that at some point they will come to Him. You must take note that a star is something that cannot be destroyed but can be stolen and used. We can steal your star, but when you come to Christ, you can still take it back by prayer. Once we steal your stars, we would hide it in different places. Besides, if you join a church whose pastor is in occultism, your star is in danger. So there is a permanent conflict and a war on earth between the force of evil and the force of good. As soon as a Christian enters the war and retrieves his star, we will record the loss, failure, or defeat. It should be noted that it is not only men who have stars and destinies but also countries have stars and destinies. Many countries have deviated from their destiny. Congo is a great country in the spiritual world. This is why the devil fights to prevent it from fulfilling its mission and to play its role. The devil works to keep the church divided in order to prevent the country from rising. Moreover, the stars of different people differ in terms of intensity. The stars of certain people shine more than the other, and the devil works to capture the stars of people